Hello everyone, this is the Lack of Davening number 8, and today we finish this series. And today I want to deal with a very simple question, and that is, why is Yom Tov different than Shabbos? If you look in the Rambam that we already quoted, the Rambam doesn't seem to see any difference. He says, and I quote his words, B'Shabbatot, and then he says, B'Yamim Tovim, Lo Zoakim, U'mitchanenim Bahem B'Tfilah. There's no request on Shabbos. And the Shulchan Aruch follows suit. The Code of Jewish Law says that uvechol makom, in every place, and mitanim v'lo zakim v'lo matreim, you don't fast, you don't request. B'Shabbat ve'Yom Tov al shum tzara, both on Shabbos and Yom Tov. So it doesn't seem like there's any difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov, and indeed the Gemara in the Ma'aseh Rav, which records everything the Gra did, indeed says that in Shul on Yom Tov, the Gra would not say the Ribono Shalom that we usually say when we take out the Torah after we say the Yud Gimel Midot, the 13 attributes of mercy. Quoting the Ma'aseh Rav, B'sha'at Otzat Sefer Torah, Ein Omrim Rach Berich Shmei, V'lo Shum Ribono Shalom, and they're talking about Yom Tov. So from this perspective, Shabbos and Yom Tov is the same, and there's no difference. However, we all know that is not our custom. The Ramah already says that we say Avinu Malkeinu on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur, on the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, with one exception, and that is Ve'imu Shabbat and Omrim Oto. We don't say it on Shabbos. Not to mention the fact that we say the Ribono Shalom indeed when we take out the Torah together with the 13 attributes of mercy only on a weekday Yom Tov and not on Shabbos, and other petitions. So there has to be an explanation as to why. Indeed, the Magen Avraham, talking about the Avinu Malkeinu that we say on a weekday but not on Shabbos, brings two reasons. One reason he doesn't like, the other reason he makes his peace with. Reason number one is, and I quote, Yeshomim hatam mishum denitkan keneged brachot emtzayot, v'zeh lo shayach ela keshechal bechol. The Levush brought a reason, and that is that the Avinu Malkeinu is supposed to correspond the 18 or the 19 blessings that we say during the week. If that's the case, then we shouldn't say it neither on Shabbos nor on Yom Tov, because we only have 7 blessings, and therefore that wouldn't explain anything. And therefore he brings a second explanation, and that is the Ran. The Ran comes along and says that Hatam mipnei shehu shi'lat tzrachav. You're not allowed to request on Shabbos, but obviously the implication is that you are allowed to request on Yom Tov. And indeed, the Magen Avraham goes on to say that he heard that Ksat Mekomot, in some places, Nohagim Kishashal Shabbos B'Yontiv, when Shabbos comes out on Yontiv, She'ein Nisiyat Kapayim, that you don't duchen. Now I remind everyone, the Ramah says that you only duchen on Yontiv, and you only duchen in Musaf on Yontiv. So that basically is 13 times out of the 365 days a year. That's it. And even that is detracted, says the Magen Avraham in some places, if, God forbid, a Shabbos coincides with a Yom Tov. V'lo yadati tam ladavar, and I don't understand it. It makes no sense. Ve'efshar, maybe I can explain it. Mishum she'omrim Ribono Shalom, as everybody knows in the Machzor, there is a long Ribono Shalom called the Hatavat Chalom, asking God to annul any bad dreams we have, that we say during the Duchening. It's actually paskind in Shulchan Aruch to say it, and that explains the ayayayayay that the Kohanim do. It's the ayayays to elongate the Birkas Kohanim, so everyone has a chance to say the Hatavat Chalom. So because that Hatavat Chalom is a request of God to annul our bad dreams, it's a request. Yesh bo ishum isur tchina b'Shabbos, ma she'ein kein b'Yontiv, lo Bidei Kule Hai. Somehow on Yom Tov there's no big deal to request. So as we get, there are 3 examples that we come up with that Yom Tov is different than Shabbos according to our minhag. 1, Avinu Malkeinu. 2, the requests that we say when we take out the Torah, the Yud Gimel Midot, Ribono Shalom, and number 3, the Hatavat Chalom that we say during Duchening. And indeed, you should Duchen on Shabbos even if it comes out on Yom Tov, because the Magen Avraham says, Lo yadati tam ladavar, you shouldn't say the Ribono Shalom, they shouldn't do the ayayayis. So why is it that Shabbos is different than Yom Tov? Best explanation is given by Bar Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, who died in 1986, comes along and says, let's go back to the basics. We paskin like the Bavli. the Bavli comes along and says that the reason that you cannot ask requests of God on Shabbos is lo itrichuhu rabbanan. God didn't want to bother you, and as we explained many times, God did not want to impinge upon your own Shabbos. The minute you start requesting, you'll start thinking about what you lack and not what you have. Says Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, the famous Rashi that we quoted, that on Shabbos the feeling should be ki'ilu melachtecha asuya. Everything's done. Whatever's done is done. I'm finished. I'm happy with what I have. On Motzei Shabbos, after Shabbos, I'll deal with what I lack. Comes along with Yaakov Kamenetsky in his Perush on Chumash, quotes that Rashi and says, "La'aniyuta ati," according to what I believe, "Zeu atam she'en bakashat rachamim b'Shabbat." This is the reason why we don't request on Shabbos. Ma she'en ken b'shar Yontiv, b'pnei sheb'Shabbat kol melachto asuya, which is not the case on Yontiv. Why is it not the case on Yontiv? He doesn't explain, but I think the explanation is simple. On Yontiv, you're allowed to cook. By definition, there's something missing on Yontiv. Food. In other words, Yontiv is not an experience, everything is done. Shabbos, you're not allowed to cook. So whatever's cooked is cooked. Whatever's not cooked, you got to be happy with what you have. Yontiv, food is missing. You can barbecue. And therefore, by definition, since Yontiv is a day where things are missing, Yontiv is an appropriate day for requests. Albeit, there is a little bit of a limitation of the request. We did take out the 13 blessings of petition, even on Yontiv from the Amidah, yes, but there are much more requests in our davening, because by definition, Yontiv is a day where things are missing, simply because there's one thing that we don't have on Yontiv, and that's food, which you're allowed to cook on Yontiv. I think that is the best explanation to explain why on Yontiv, Avinu Malkeinu, yes, Shabbos, no. On Yontiv, we could say the Ribono Shel Olam when we take out the Torah, as well as the Hatavat Chalom when we duchen, but not on Shabbos. From this perspective, by definition, Yontiv is a different day from Shabbos. Shabbos is a day where everything is done. Whatever I have, I have. I don't think about what I lack. I'm happy with what I have. Yontiv, by definition, is a day in which you do think about what you lack. And in order to prove this point, allow me to end with the following thought. Yontiv, every one of them, is a time in which God judges us for various things. Namely, it's a day of judgment for, say, on Shavuos, Perot HaIlan, for, on Sukkot, for the rain of the year. By definition, if God's judging us, we have to ask for it. We have to say, God, we need it. Therefore, we say Hoshanot on Sukkot. Therefore, we do various prayers on Yontiv, such as Tfilat Geshem, Tfilat Tal, and whatnot. Yontiv is indeed a day where we lack, and we ask of God various things. Small limitations, but not much. Shabbos is a day in which we're happy with what we have. We don't think about what we lack.
Oh,